What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's been a while, I think. Anyways, I don't remember what I filmed last. I know I was working on the 2JZ S13. Now I'm also working on my buddy's RX-7. I didn't film any. I made the exhausts for this car, but I didn't film any of that. I don't know. It's still kind of hard getting used to filming while trying to get stuff done, because it definitely slows down your productivity. But anyways, in this video today, we're gonna start off with some tire mounting stuff. Anyways, doesn't matter where I'm pointing it. You can see it in the background, right? You can see it in the background, right? Okay. Anyways, so this video I'm gonna start off with a little bit of tire mounting stuff. Where we get a lot of this where they either take their wheels and tires somewhere to get them mounted, and that place can't get them seated, or they try to do it themselves and they can't get them seated. Either way, we end up people bringing us wheels and tires already mounted like this, and then asking, oh, you know, can you just seat it, and how much is that going to be? And I mean, we specialize in stretch, so we're not going to do it for free. It still has to be worth our time. And a lot of the times people don't understand is like, yeah, you bring it to us mounted already, but I'm gonna end up dismounting this because the way I do things, this is not clean. So what's the point in trying to seat this tire if there's potential for it to leak? Same with this one. There's actually a bunch of bead seal on this side. I'm not a strong believer in bead seal unless it's needed, and usually when it's needed, it's because either the rim surface is super corroded. That's pretty much the only time I would use it. There's no reason to use it as an extra sealer. At least in my experience, I find if you put bead seal on a clean surface, at least when it comes to stretch stuff, depending on how aggressive it is, the bead seal can actually cause the leak, because it's like a rubber. Anyways, so yeah, what do we have? We have a pair of BBS RS's that are 15 by 10, I was told, and the tire that is going on here is 195, 45, okay, these are 16s.
Somebody come and look at this.
Not 15s.
Look at this.
Oh, well, see, there you go. Customer tells us they're 15s, but they're actually 16s. So 195, 45, 16 on a 16 by 10. So I'm gonna get the camera set up and show you basically what I do when I get a job like this. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set this up on the machine, and I'm gonna end up dismounting the tire. So that's what a lot of people don't realize is they bring a wheel and tire that's mounted like this, but it's not seated, and then they think, oh, well, all you have to do is blast it on. No, it's not, because if I just blast it on and it leaks, you're gonna come back and, or not you're gonna come back, but a lot of the times the customer will come back and then it's my problem. So I rather take care of it beforehand by dismounting it because I don't know who previously mounted it or what their procedure is. I always go slow. I always lube the tire when you're taking it off. That's nice. It looks like somebody built these themselves and sealed it themselves. Hopefully there's no leaks in the actual, it's not pretty, but anyways. So, one good example is, why is there bead seal on this? Unless this edge is super corroded and pitted, there's really no reason for there to be bead seal on here. So what I do is, or that's why I dismount the tire, so that I can clean it and get it to where I want it to be before I mount the tire. So I'm just using a drill and a like wire cup wheel. It's not super hard. So what I want to show you is, if you look close, can you get close in here? So if you look close at what bead seal is, it's kind of like a rubbery, it's kind of like when you're a kid and you play with glue in school and you put it on your hands and then it dries and you can peel it off. It's the same thing, but this is like a rubberized, or more rubbery glue maybe. But anyways, sometimes if you put too much bead seal, or if you put bead seal where you don't really need it because the rim's not corroded, it can bunch up and that will actually cause it to leak. So imagine if you have this sitting in between the rim and tire, and it's exaggerated now because you're running a stretch tire, you're running a 195 on a 10-inch wide wheel. Anything that would normally not leak on a unstretched tire is going to be exaggerated on a stretch tire. So something like this could cause it to leak. So that's why, if the wheel doesn't need it, and this wheel is actually pretty smooth, it's just used and needs to be cleaned, there's no need for bead seal. So So I'm not going to do the lips because the lips are obviously new, or they're pretty clean. So let me show you. What we're left with. So I don't know how well you can see it, but this is actually clean. And if you were to run your finger along here, it's smooth. So there really was no reason for there to be bead seal. A lot of people, especially when it comes to stretching tires, they think bead seal is like this magical paste where, you know, you put it on and the tire's not going to leak. But that's not, you know, it's supposed to be used in the right application, and a lot of people just think it's some kind of, something that is not. So this is actually better off to mount it like this, because this is smooth. And so let's mount the tire back on. So we're going to See, look, now you got a bunch of bead seal on the actual tire. So now you can obviously see when we get a case like this, or whatever, we get a job like this where it's been mounted. It's not just a matter of taking the bead blaster and hitting it with the bead blaster. Now it's all of a sudden we're essentially prepping the tire back, or we're prepping the tire to be mounted to our standards, where you don't want extra bead seal sitting on the beads, especially when there's no reason for it. In case you haven't noticed, I guess it's a pet peeve because I keep talking about bead seal and improper use of it. So now we can lube the tire up, and before I do that, there's some crap in here. So I'm just gonna blow it out, and yeah, so these tires are inside outside, whatever the heck these are. What are these? A+, never heard of it. A+ tire, made in China, outside. So when you see outside, that means this is facing outside. Okay, so now we are back to where we started. Essentially, the tire is on the rim and it just needs to be seated, and you can tell that it wasn't how much time we put into this. We already had to dismount, clean the rim flange, or the rim seat, the wheel seat, whatever you want to call it, and then remount the tire. So now it's time to try and seat it. And I always like to tell people, especially for tire mounting, lube is your friend. It actually, so other than acting as a lubricant, it also can help seal certain spots. So let's see. The customer said that they were able to get one side but not the other side. So if you look at the bottom here, this is how much space there is, and you're not going to seal this because look, if I put the air valve on and I start blowing into it, all the air is escaping from the bottom, or vice versa. If you put it on the bottom, it's all going to escape from the top, and this is where the valve is. This is where the air is coming in from. So this is directly escaping. So, I mean, it's not rocket science. A lot of people seem to think it's more complicated than it is. It's just once you get used to how it works. So naturally, because this is a step lip, you can see the drop of the wheel here. And if you look over here, this is the air valve. So naturally, in my mind, is you would want to seal the top first, and you'd probably want to blast from the bottom. So let's give that a try. Okay, so I had to wait for the air compressor to shut off so that you guys can still hear me. I've got the bead blaster filled to like 100 psi, and let's give this a shot. So basically, you want to be inflating while you blast it. So I'm stepping on the pedal while I'm gonna shoot this. So, and that didn't work. So we're gonna try another way. This is a little airline that I made. Basically, it's got an air chuck on the end of it and then a fitting on the end of it. You plug it into the airline and it'll just be straight air. You don't have to hold anything. So I'm gonna put this on. And I'm gonna put this down. So we're still essentially trying the same thing. So I'm going to fill the cheetah or the bead blaster again, and instead of having to step on the pedal, all I have to do is connect this line and it'll start feeding air into the wheel. And I'm just going to make sure this is nice and lubed up. Okay, so the bead blaster is filled. I'm going to connect the airline and it's just going to start feeding air in. The compressor might turn on, but let's see if this works. Obviously, the tire hasn't seated. You saw the big gap on the bottom. The tire's already at 60 psi. I'm just gonna keep airing this up. Let's see if it's changed at all. So it hasn't changed. At this point, you know, 195, 45, 16 on a 16 by 10. It might be too much of a stretch, but so I'll go to a certain, I'll keep filling it to a certain point. Now what I'm gonna do is one of my methods, or one of my, you know, go-to techniques is, you know, we have a significant amount of air or tire pressure in here that, you know, if it was gonna go on its own, it would go on its own, but it's not. So what I'm gonna end up doing is I'm gonna use the Bead Breaker to kind of shift it over. And you don't want to shift too much because this is the side of the step lip, and if you go too much, you're basically just gonna debead the entire tire. Yeah, so basically we had the tire all the way on this side, and on this side there was like a 1-inch gap. So now we're gonna try and air this up some more and see if it goes out anymore. Because we're at about 110 right now, and the bottom is more seated, but the top is not. So what I might end up doing is I'm gonna try and massage it a little bit more with the Bead Breaker. so I'm going to show you guys a closer look on using the better camera. So we got the tire seated. From here it looks fine, but if you look really close, this is a pretty aggressive stretch. You can see how much barrel is showing. I'm going to show you the back side. So I get some light in here. So again, you can see this is a pretty aggressive stretch. I've done more aggressive, but you know, different tires, like different model makes of tires, along with different models and makes of wheels, will give you different results. So I've done a 195 45 15 on a 15 by 10 and a half. That was a Nankang NS2. So you guys probably know some tires, like between tire manufacturers, tires of different brands will run in terms of, if this is a 195, the true section width may be different. It may be under that, it may be slightly over that. So with different tire brands and models, that's where you'll see, you know, if I have the same size but in a different model, it might not be as stretched as this. It might be a little bit less stretched. By the way, we got this one on. And yeah, so this should be for show purposes only. Right now there's 120 PSI in there. There's no guarantee as to whether it's gonna stay seated, especially if he runs any other pressure, any lower pressure than that. If I really want to get into detail, I would show you guys what the minimum air pressure threshold would be. So sometimes after I mount tires, I will drop the pressure down and monitor it. So I'll keep dropping it down, and wait to see if the gap in between here starts to get bigger. And when you do see it start to get bigger, you see what tire pressure that was at. And say we drop this down to 60, nothing happens. We drop it down to 50 PSI, and all of a sudden this gap got bigger. We know 50 PSI is probably the threshold of how low of a tire pressure you would want to run on this. So yeah, I'm not gonna film the next one in too much detail. I'll just probably film it like a time lapse, and we'll get that second one mounted and move on to other things today. Okay, so both mounted. I'm just gonna give it a little bit of a wipe down with some just water. Get most of the fingerprints or like lube splashes or marks or whatever off of it. And there you go. So we've got the pair mounted up. This is the second one, and after I massaged it with the Bead Breaker, we've got it to where this is relatively even. The only issue is, so a lot of stretch guys, they really like this type of gap in here. I personally hate it, because you know what that means? It means a high potential for de-beading. It means you have to run crazy high tire pressure, which makes your car ride like crap. I'm into stretch and stuff too, but not anything crazy. Like this is the kind of stretch I like, where this is a, you know, it's a meaty semi-R compound 225/40/18 on a 9.5, and it's not all that stretch. Even the rear on this car is a 255/35/18 semi-R compound on a 10.5. So that's the kind of stretch I like to run. See, this kind of stretch where it is stretched for sure. This is stretched 225/45/17 on a 9.5. This kind of stuff is cool when you're young, I guess. I've been in the stance. I've been through that like stance stage, and I don't miss it because the car rides like crap. Well, I mean, it doesn't ride like crap, to each their own, but it's not comfortable. Let's be real about it. It's not comfortable. You just deal with it. So yeah, these are mounted, good to go. The customer didn't want them balanced, so yeah, we're gonna let the customer know that they're ready. And what else are we gonna do today?